none of us knew what we were getting ourselves into. You know, I didn't know what a startup was. I didn't know what a pitch deck was. Our mom worked at the YMCA and our dad worked for the county. So for us, like, that was what we were accustomed to, and sports was our whole lives. So we sort of took what we learned from sports, more so like the discipline and work ethic, and applied it to business, but we had no technical skills at all. All 5 of the Sharks, they said bad things about the brand, didn't like the taste, thought our valuation was too high.
Dude, what was that like? You're on TV in front of millions of people and they're literally just turning your brand down.
Yeah, the episode didn't make us look like we failed, but every Shark had something negative to say about the brand, and we've used it as fuel. You know, like, we have a chip on our shoulder to show them like what they missed out on.
Hey guys, here today with Jim DeCicco. He's the CEO of Super Coffee, which is under the brand Key to Life. We're gonna dive into his story a little bit today, but I just wanted to take some time to interview him because he's a very young CEO and leader of a company with now, I believe, over 50 people. Yeah, which is unbelievable. So, Jim, just to start, man, we'd love to hear a little bit about Super Coffee and then how you guys got into it.
Yeah, man. First of all, thanks for having me. You know the deal. You've been one of the few people that has known us really since the early days, but I'm the oldest of 3 brothers. We all played sports in college, and our youngest brother, Jordan, was tired. He didn't want to drink the sugary Starbucks Frappuccino or Dunkin' Donuts bottle of coffee. So he started brewing his own coffee with protein, MCT oil, no sugar, right down here in DC. And we delivered it to 1 Whole Foods. Then we got into 2 stores, a few colleges. This was back in 2016, and now today we've slowly grown the business to over 50 employees. Pitched on Shark Tank, Forbes 30 Under 30, all kinds of good stuff along the way. But it's been a fun 3 years.
Yeah, no kidding. Kind of just like made it seem like it was so easy. I mean, it's pretty unbelievable. But so what were you doing at the time then?
Yeah, so I had just graduated. I was class of 2015 from Colgate. I played football up there, and I was working in finance for the Blackstone Group up in New York City.
Yeah.
And it was my first, I guess it was my 2nd month on the job. So like August 2015, I got a call from Jordan telling me that he's dropping out of school to start a coffee company. And Jordan was a full scholarship basketball player. Like, basketball was his life, you know. So for him to forfeit that dream and that opportunity for entrepreneurship, I knew something was big and something had sort of changed in his passion. So I left my job and joined him.
Wait, you left your finance job almost solely based on like your faith in your brother?
Totally.
Sounds like.
Totally. More to like, I felt like it was my obligation to help him and make sure that he didn't ruin his life by dropping out of college.
Just being the older brother, like protector kind of thing?
Totally, man.
Yeah.
And it was weird. Like, none of us knew what we were getting ourselves into. You know, I didn't know what a startup was. I didn't know what a pitch deck was. Our mom worked at the YMCA and our dad worked for the county. So for us, like, that was what we were accustomed to, and sports was our whole lives. So we sort of took what we learned from sports, more so like the discipline and work ethic, and applied it to business, but we had no technical skills at all.
Wow.
Yeah, we still don't have any technical skills.
That's funny, man. All right, so you left a job at the Blackstone Group. Were you making good money there?
Great money, and I mean, it was a grind, you know, the crazy hours, and I was on a path to make a lot of money. And I think coming out of college, a lot of us don't know what we want to do. So for me, I was like, I'm gonna go work on Wall Street. And I think I sort of resigned myself to this idea that, like, we all need to be successful. And a lot of people sacrifice happiness for that success. And I was only 2 months into the job when I left. And I was quickly I saw my future of like suit and tie every day, selling stuff I didn't believe in. And when Jordan came to me with this idea and this passion project, I thought it was going to be a temporary step for me to sort of figure my life out. But it ended up, 3.5 years later, here we are.
Yeah, that's sweet. All right, so you said you didn't want to spend the rest of your life selling something you didn't believe in, right? On Wall Street. Did you believe in Super Coffee right off the bat, or did it take some time for that to kind of take shape?
I believed in the principles of like what it stood for, right? A better day, a better life. I totally against sugar. Like, we all condemn sugar, and the fact that it was a sugar-free coffee that gave you energy, I could get behind that. But it wasn't like, I never dreamed of being a CEO of a coffee company, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, coffee's such a staple in like American culture, international culture, if you will. So like, avid coffee drinker, passionate about it, but like, doesn't get me out of bed in the morning to like go sell coffee. And now, like I said, 3.5 years later, I couldn't dream of doing anything different.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, you're kind of in a spot where most people are aspiring to be, which I think is fantastic. I think you took a big risk, it sounds like, by leaving a comfy, probably high-paying job on Wall Street to come start this, which is cool. But I'm sure you guys encountered some obstacles along the way. And one of the things that I have been trying to narrow in on throughout the past several interviews is the rejection that people face, whether it's as an entrepreneur, as a leader, like a growing leader, or maybe it's even somebody in sales. Like, we all encounter a lot of rejection. And I think this is one of the main things that slows a lot of us down, maybe to the point of complete immobility, and people go ahead and freeze and they give up, right? So you said you guys grew this coffee company, 50 people, you're nationwide now, but I know you did not get there like scot-free. You had to hit some obstacles. So like, what were some of the early challenges that you guys ran into?
Totally, man. And like, the first challenge we faced is starting a beverage company. There's a barrier to entry, right? Like, a grocery store won't carry your products unless you have a distributor, and a distributor won't carry your products unless you have stores that are going to buy it. So for us, like, it was impossible to get started unless we made our own products, we delivered our own products, we stocked the shelves, we poured the samples, so we had to do everything on our own. And that was actually a great thing because it allowed us to learn the business from the ground up. But it was also challenging because it was literally one door at a time, one case of coffee at a time, and building up very slowly. And thankfully, like, once we got to a certain mass, that first year my brothers and I were delivering to 25 stores in this area, and that was about enough business to pass off to a distributor, and then we could scale a bit more economically. Other issues like Shark Tank, we didn't get a deal. All 5 of the sharks, they said bad things about the brand, didn't like the taste, thought our valuation was too high.
Dude, what was that like? You're on TV in front of millions of people and they're literally just turning your brand down.
Yeah. So, I mean, at first, like, the whole experience felt like a sports game. We had the pregame jitters and like, we wanted to go out there and perform well. So it was cool, and we liked it. And eventually, like, once our nerves settled, it was just a business meeting. It was just a conversation with smart people who could help us out or potentially hurt us. And the fact that all 5 sharks said, I'm out, in the tank, we had no idea what they were going to show. The conversation was an hour long with the sharks, which was a lot of people don't realize. So we didn't know what they were going to show on TV. And the episode didn't make us look like we failed, but every shark had something negative to say about the brand, and we've used it as fuel. Like, we have a chip on our shoulder to show them like what they missed out on.
Yeah, sure. Did you anticipate that happening prior to the show? Like, that could be an option?
Honestly, not, and that's why it hurt so bad, because we went in, we were like, all 5 of them are going to love us, all 5 of them are going to make us a deal. Which shark are we going to pick? Like, we had the highest expectations. How could they not like this, right? It tastes good, it's good for you, we got some sales to prove it. And we filmed in 2017, so we didn't really have that many sales, and the product didn't really taste that good. And we've been improving ever since. So, like, we were disappointed because the expectation was we were going to crush, and then it didn't turn out that way.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But you also said the words, it hurt.
Oh, yeah.
I think maybe people who aren't where you are could look at you and say, well, Jim's just a machine. Maybe he's wired that way as an entrepreneur to, like, let that stuff roll off of his shoulders and continue on. Like, I think it's pretty key that you guys were emotional about it. It did sting, for sure. And what were your thoughts afterwards?
Yeah, I think afterwards, we didn't know. One, we didn't even know if the episode was going to air. Like, we thought it was that disappointing, because Shark Tank makes their money by creating this tension between, like, making an offer and the negotiation between the entrepreneurs and the sharks. So we didn't even get to that point, So we were like, dang, we totally flopped, disappointed, not entertaining, all of these things. And then afterwards, it was business as usual. Whether that episode aired or not, whether they made us look great or look terrible, it was somewhere in the middle. We still had a business to grow, no matter what, despite that. It's not like we were going to quit because the sharks said bad things about us. We've never won a pitch competition. We've never won any, like, nobody's ever sort of given us that chance. And because of that, I think we're just even keeled, just keep going.
Yeah. But why? Like, what about the mission keeps you guys motivated? Because I think there would be people, especially because Rohan was on the show, who is a well-known figure in the food and beverage industry as an investor, part of Vitamin Water and a few other successful exits. You have a handful of experts and one very notable expert in your field telling you that it wasn't for them. I mean, I think that's where some people would have an easy out. We gave it our all, but we had these professionals tell us that it just didn't make sense and it probably wasn't a great brand. So we tried it and then we pivoted and went somewhere else. But you guys still, after that, we're like, nope, we've got something. So I asked why, where did that come from? Your belief in this mission?
Yeah, dude, totally. And that's a great question, because a lot of people, a lot of entrepreneurs, you need to have that awareness, right? Because if you have a bad idea that's not going to work and there is no market for it and everybody in the world is telling you that, you can't have this stubbornness to pursue that, because you're going to waste all of your time, all of your money, all of your investors' money if anybody's crazy enough to invest in you. So there does need to be some reality or some sort of the totally belief in yourself to make it happen, but also bigger picture, do other people want this too? And the good news for us was it's coffee. We didn't create bottled coffee. We knew that there was a big market for it. We were just doing it differently. So for us, the fact that a lot of people told us no, or told us it wasn't going to work, or we didn't know what we were doing, that hurt. Every time it hurt. But we had this certain belief in ourselves and this certain chip on our shoulder. I think it comes back from athletics too. We were all undersized. We were all I didn't really play on any teams until I was in high school, just because I was always a backup. And then to go play Division I football, I was that was earned. It wasn't talent. It wasn't because my dad knew the coach or anything like that. It was just earned. And the fact that we did that already once in our lives through sports was let's do it again. Let's go earn it. Let's go sort of prove people wrong. And the three of us were always on the same team with that mentality.
That's really cool. And it seems like you guys have done an excellent job of taking the advice that's given to you, whether it's from the Sharks or other people, and using it for the better of Super Coffee, right? Because I've watched you go through, I think you're on your third iteration now of packaging.
Yep.
Yeah, so would you call the first two failures, or obviously they were experiences that you learned from, right?
Totally.
Yeah. So I think that's awesome that you guys are doing that. All right, so you mentioned the sports connection, and I've seen you do these Spartan races. What's the tie-in there? Do you feel like you're pushing your limits physically has an impact on the business?
Yeah. I mean, work is life, right? I don't want to make it sound like we're workaholics and there is no work-life balance, but we love what we do. And people say, when you love what you do, you don't work a day in your life. Work becomes life, and I think that's the way it should be, right? Why would you want to go to work from 9 to 5 or longer and then can't wait to punch out and go home to start the next part of your life? Whereas for us, it's all this one thing. So sports is the same deal. The quote that I sort of refer it back to is give the work to the busiest person in the room. For me, training hard is just an extension of working on the business, because the startup life is such an unconventional grind. And the discipline to wake up early and go to the gym, or when you think about college football, waking up early and lifting weights or running sprints, nobody wants to do that, but it sort of hardens you and gets you ready for the show or the game on a Saturday. For us, it just helps us operate at the top of our game. And I couldn't imagine one without the other. We couldn't do what we do if we didn't have this sort of physical competition drive that we sort of had our whole lives. Yeah.
Do you think that type of experience that you and your brothers had through athletics is necessary for other entrepreneurs too, to be able to have some sort of physical challenges to overcome, to connect it to the mental and the business aspect?
Probably not, only because I always struggled with this balance between call it academics and athletics, right? We all went to good schools. Colgate was a good academic school, and there was always this rift between athletes and students, who weren't athletes. It's not that we were looked down upon, it's just different, where my brothers and I sort of try and overcome challenges the hard way. We're not the sharpest tools in the shed, we're not that much smarter than anybody else. For us, we're on this sort of level playing field, and because of that, we solve things the hard way. Whereas and our industry is kind of simple, we sort of just show up, work hard, stock the shelves, make the product. It's not like we started a tech company or an app where we're these expert coders or developers.
Right.
So
yeah.
For us, sport is the drive and the work ethic and the discipline that allows us to do what we do. But I don't think it's necessary for all entrepreneurs.
Okay. Gotcha.
I do think everybody should challenge themselves. Do something that's uncomfortable for you. Doesn't need to be a marathon, but take a cold shower, or wake up early.
Yeah.
Do some shit that you don't want to do.
No, for sure. All right, so that's, I think, that's better put. And that's maybe what I was trying to get at too, was this idea of everybody challenging themselves in some way, shape, or form, right?
Yeah.
For you guys, it was athletics, but it doesn't necessarily have to be
Totally
a physical challenge for other people. So I love that advice. I think that that's great. You also mentioned discipline of getting up early in the morning and getting after it. Are you like truly excited each morning when the alarm goes off, or like do you have mornings where you wake up and you don't feel like getting after it, but you do it anyways? Like what it goes through your head when the alarm goes off in the morning?
Totally, man. And before I answer that, the first thing I'll say is like, I used to look at people, this guy Jocko Willink, I think many of your listeners.
I love Jocko.
Jocko's awesome. Dude wakes up at 4:30 every day, takes a picture of his alarm clock.
Yeah.
And I used to say, wow, I wish I was born that way. I wish I could do that just every day, easy. And it's not like that. Jocko, it's not easy for Jocko to wake up every day. Like that is a difficult thing. So for me, like we've sort of trained ourselves to wake up early. My alarm usually goes off at 5. I don't always get out of bed at 5, and I'm never excited when that alarm goes off. Every morning is a struggle. Every morning is hard. Of course I want to stay in my warm sheets, and sleep till 8 a.m. Like whatever it is, that's what I want to do. But to get up and get after it, and now that we're over 50 people, like we're accountable to everybody, and they're sort of looking at us. So I think there's different motivations that allow us to pop up and do what we do.
Yeah.
But over the last 3 years, I've really learned to value rest too. So like I'm not gonna pride myself on staying up late and waking up early and just burning the candle at both ends, because it's not sustainable.
Yeah, that's a great point. I do see so many entrepreneurs in our field that are priding themselves on the hard work and the hours that they put in, not giving themselves any rest, and then you have a conversation with them and they're like mentally not even there. You're like, you need to give your body some rest.
Totally.
And so yeah, I think that that's a huge value. You mentioned the 50 people, right? So transitioning kind of over to that, it's one thing for you and your brothers, I think, to be self-motivated and driven individuals. I think it's a total different thing to transfer that feeling that you have for your brand and that passion and motivation to 5, to 10, to 25, to 50 people. What are some leadership principles that you follow yourself as a young CEO to keep those people excited?
Totally, man, totally. And you can't start with a group of 50 and expect them all to believe in the same things or operate the same way. And going back to sports, I reached out to my college coach once we were at like 15 or 20 people. I was like, Coach, what do you do? Like, how do you motivate everybody? And the best advice he gave me was, yes, it's a team, but every individual on the team is motivated by something different. So if you and I want to wake up at 4:30 and go for a run, that doesn't mean the next guy does. So figuring that balance out and what motivates him or her is super important, and treating everyone as an individual rather than as a team is also important. But for us, what we've had the benefit of day one of, one, building a company we want to work at, and 2, doing it with the people we want to work with. And I always say that like a brand isn't a logo or a name or a packaging. Like brand is the people and the sort of the culture that is behind the brand that you see on the shelf. So with that in mind, like we've attracted a lot of the like-minded individuals. So thankfully we have a diverse team from different backgrounds, different parts of the country, different stories. But at the same time, they all came here for similar reasons, meaning like, whether it's positive energy, whether it's this fight against sugar, or this sort of chip on your shoulder mentality of like, people are telling us we can't, so let's show them that we can. So those are really the 3 main things that attract people to this team.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, you can't go apply to work at a place called Super Coffee if you don't consider yourself a super person on some level, right? So I think there's an instant connection there, which is helpful. And then you mentioned that there's a team, but each individual is different. So with a team that size, do you try to connect with each individual? Like, what role do you play in identifying each individual's needs and helping to cater to those and motivate them? Yeah,
totally, man. And it's tough, right? Because like outside of our team, like we have a big Italian family, we have friends from college, friends from high school. So like there's a lot of people in and out of our lives to sort of keep in touch with or keep track of. And then now that we have a team, obviously I can't build personal friendships, like daily on the daily with everybody, but my brothers and I are involved in the hiring process with everyone. So we'll have some sort of interaction with all candidates before they start. And then we just launched this, it's called Super University. So all of our new hires come up to our headquarters in New York City. They spend 2 days in like a curriculum, like training, like organized training of learning every aspect of the business. And with that, it's meals with the three of us, it's meals with the whole team. So really getting to vibe with people that way. And
no matter where they are in the country, they come to New York.
Yeah, we fly everybody in. And we usually wait until we have like 5 new hires to bring in, just so we're not bringing folks every week. So it'll be a class or a cohort. So we get to know people then and really get to see what clicks, what makes them feel good. But then now, I mean, the reason I'm in DC right now is we're on a sales blitz. So throughout the year, we try and parachute into everybody's market, like where all of our team is working, spend time with them, whether it's working out or going on a route ride or having a team dinner, and doing that. So like, we're based in New York City, but right now we have 15 people down here in the Mid-Atlantic. So showing that face time, getting to know people, and doing the work with them rather than either for them or telling them what to do is really what has allowed us to build those relationships.
Sure, yeah, that makes sense. I think they can also be motivated by seeing you come down here, get in the field, and knowing that they're not alone, right? Like you're there by their side, going through everything that they're going through. I think that says a lot about your guys' leadership, but also I think just your character in general, right? And maybe it's the hard worker coming from the former athlete, current athlete, but former sports player. So I think that's really cool. And considering I know people that work for your company that absolutely love working there, I think that speaks volumes as well about what you guys are doing.
Totally.
So how about just like you as a person, you as a CEO, you know, you're obviously a go-getter, you're motivated, I think you're disciplined, because on the mornings where you wake up and you're not feeling like it, you still force yourself to get after it. What are some challenges that you run into like today, currently?
Yeah, and there's a lot of things, you know, it's not perfect, but I'm a totally different human than I was 3 years ago. You know, you grow up fast in this environment. Like we say, like startup years are like dog years, where so much happens in the course of a day, a week, a month, a year, that like you really mature a lot faster than if you were just doing the normal 9-to-5 grind. And so with that, super grateful of how I've evolved, but like I still have insecurities, you know, like am I the right person to run this company? Why should people look up to me? Almost like this imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
And that's stressful. It sort of creates anxiety. And
how often do you have those thoughts?
Weekly, for sure.
Weekly, all right.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. And it's a lot of pressure, you know, because now we have a lot of people looking to us for the decisions, and decisions that we not always have the right answers to. But when we make a decision and we make it with conviction, we need to do just that. Make it with conviction, act on it, and lead people in the right direction. And sometimes for me, it's like, not the blind leading the blind, but it's like, I think this is the right way we need to go. Let's attack it with everything we have. One of my coaches had like when somebody would jump off sides in practice, they would usually get upset with themselves and like just take their foot off the gas. And the coach was like, if you're going to jump off sides, you better go 100 miles an hour, right? So for us, it's like once we make a decision, we're going 100 miles an hour because we can make that decision right. There's no playbook, there's no right answers to building your business, because like the way you guys do it, the way we do it, the way every brand does it is different. So once you make a decision, just do it, hit it with everything you have.
Yeah.
And that's helped me overcome some insecurities and like that indecisiveness.
Yeah, I love it. How about in the moment? For other people that experience the imposter syndrome, which I think if you have a pulse, you probably do.
Yeah.
Yeah, what types of thoughts do you have to overcome those?
Yeah. For me, it starts with breathing, you know, like just a deep breath in through the nose, out through the mouth. We call it 6-1-7, and 6 seconds in through the nose, 1 second hold, 7 seconds out. And whenever anybody at the company says that to each other, you sort of know to sort of reset, relax, think, just sort of get even keeled. And in the moment, like I said, it's taking action, you know, because if you're alone with your thoughts, or if you're insecure about something, like, and you don't do anything about it, it's going to eat you up. It's going to slow you down. It's really going to prevent a block in your productivity. So for me, I always try and do something, whether it's get through some emails or hit an account, you know, pour some samples, do whatever I have to do to feel active and feel busy. And maybe that's why we like working out too, you know, because it keeps us just going.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. So you still encounter the occasional insecurities of the imposter syndrome. Any other challenges that you feel like you've been working through lately?
Yeah, I think we've come a long way over the last 3.5 years, but we still have a lot to prove and a lot to learn and sort of earn and gain. And because of that, like, it's hard to get people's attention, whether it's a buyer at a grocery chain or an investor or somebody that we'd like to hire. Like, it's tough to get people to pick up the phone, or it's tough to get people interested in what we're doing and excited about what we're doing. So that's always a struggle, and it's always like, how do you prove yourself before you've arrived, if you will? You know, like, we're not celebrities, we haven't built a successful business and sold it before. So like, people don't really give us the credit or the attention that we sometimes need to sort of get into a new chain or raise money. So that's a struggle, and it's always like, how do you sort of prove your qualifications, or how do you know what I mean? Like, how do you get a seat at the table without sounding arrogant? Like, you're not going to go see somebody and be like, "What's up? I'm Jim. We were on Shark Tank. We raised all this money. We were on Forbes 30 under 30." Like, that's not how you're going to do it. So like, for us, the way we sort of overcome that, it's the long way, but it's just work hard and be nice to people. You know, like, just be genuine, keep showing up, and if the meeting's meant to be, like, you'll eventually get it, and if not, keep going, keep moving on.
Is that a sales strategy for you as well? Like, if you're walking into one of these meetings, is that something that you're telling yourself, work hard and be nice to people? Or do you feel that there are like principles that you can use to help influence the outcome of the meeting?
Yeah. I think work hard and be nice to people it's table stakes for everything. You know, so sales, yes, but investor meetings, team meetings, and just like when you get lunch at the local deli, you know, like, be nice to that person. Right? And so, and that's a no-brainer, because even if somebody's not interested in what you're selling or what you have to say or offer, if you're nice to them, they're going to remember you. You know, you're going to make them feel good. And somebody told me the other day they've done work with like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and he said he's one of the most worked with actors in Hollywood right now, not because he's particularly talented, you know, like Leonardo DiCaprio, Jack Nicholson, whatever one it is. They're all much more talented actors than The Rock. But The Rock gets all these movies because he's awesome to work with. Such a good dude. He's fun. He's good to be around. So like, that principle should apply to everything in life.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's not about the efficacy of our products. Like, we're not selling 80 calories, 0 sugar. We're really selling ourselves. And if somebody wants to work with you, they will.
You know, there's an underlying theme that I'm noticing here. And what makes me think of it is this quote that I've never forgotten. And it's, you can tell the character of a man by how he treats those who can do nothing for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. And that's exactly what you're saying here, right? Like, even if you're just going out and grabbing a sandwich, being nice to somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you feel like, what role does character play in leadership for you or the people that you hire? Is that something that you're looking for? Is it necessary?
It's everything, man, because like, people don't want to follow somebody who isn't doing the right thing or isn't good to people, right? Like, it's tricky, and especially in this age of influencers, you know, a lot of people gain influence over millions of others, whether it's on Instagram or YouTube or whatever it is, usually for entertainment. That doesn't necessarily mean those people are good people. So the tricky thing is, like, who do you follow in this world of hype and influence and all of these things? But on a more personal level, it's like, working hard and being nice to people, you can't ever condemn that, you know. And I'm not like trying to be self-righteous here, but like, if everybody did that, life would be it would just be easy, right? And our team sort of operates within those guidelines, right? Like, if you don't get the deal, or if somebody says something bad about you, you are either not working hard or you weren't nice to that person, right? So like, if you always do those two things, that's a step up amongst the competition.
Yeah. I think that's great. Such a good point. Last question for you as we close out. You mentioned just then talking about following others, and especially like the influencers, and how that culture can tend to be broken at times, right? So who are some of the people or the leaders that you look up to or that you follow? Yeah.
And I think the guy that I've idolized ever since I first read about him is Teddy Roosevelt, you know, in back late 1800s, early 1900s, U.S. president, super interesting guy. And he was just brave, and you know, he was brave, he was courageous, and he lived such a full life of different adventures. And studying him, I mean, one of his famous speeches that stands out to us is "The Man in the Arena." And I mean, he basically just says it's not the critic who counts; it's the man who's actually in the arena with the blood and dust and sweat on his face. So Teddy Roosevelt is somebody that, like, I don't know, you kind of dream about. Like like I said, he's somebody I idolize.
Yeah.
To be like take some of those principles into my everyday. But living folks, I like Joe Rogan. You know, not for who he is. I think he's super universal and extracts a lot of information about a lot of interesting people. And I'm sort of driven just by interesting folks. You know, like Joe is he's got a lot of cool things going on, whether it's UFC or podcasts or bow hunting. So like more well-rounded people, where I think my brother Jordan is more focused on people who are like very good at their thing, whether it's Steve Jobs at Apple or Elon Musk from Tesla and SpaceX, people who are like get really like the best at their niche. Whereas for me, it's like, I don't know, more well-rounded, more universal, like this mosaic principle, if you will.
That's cool. I appreciate that for sure. All right, and then in closing, what's maybe one piece of advice that you would give to somebody who's just starting out in a leadership journey? You know, like what's something you would tell yourself 3.5 years ago, just starting Super Coffee? Yeah,
I think keep showing up, right? Lead by example. So keep showing up, lead by example is sort of the same thing for me. Like whether let's say you start a bottle coffee business, right? Don't ask somebody to stock the shelves before you've actually done it for a while. You know, like you really need to learn every aspect of the business and to be able to lead by example, because if your team runs into an issue and you don't have that same vision or that same experience doing what they do, you're not gonna be able to solve the problem. Which is why we sort of stay close to the sale, whether it's in stores, building displays, riding along with distributor reps. You really have to be in the trenches. And I mean, the best part about our business is that like it's a sort of a level playing field, like there's no hierarchy here. We are peers with everyone on our team. And because of that, it's fostered this really cool relationship. It's more of a friendship than a relationship. Like people don't look up to me as like the CEO in this corner office. They're like, hey Jim, we got to go do a demo. Are you down? Are you available? I'm like, hell yeah, let's go pour samples on a Saturday. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. Keep showing up. Keep showing up, man. Love it. Well, I'll remember that. Appreciate you taking the time to sit down and share just some of your philosophies on leadership and life. But for people that are listening or watching, how can we keep up with the Super Coffee journey and your journey? Yeah, man. The best way is Drink Super Coffee, at Drink Super Coffee on Instagram. Okay. That we often post where we're at, where the business is at. My brothers and I show up on there sometimes. So you can find me through at Drink Super Coffee. Our website's drinksupercoffee.com. Okay, right on. Where can we buy it? drinksupercoffee.com, discount Savage20 for all your listeners. Sweet. 20% off, baby. I'll make that right now. Pick up a couple cases. Hell yeah, man. Sweet, man. Well, it's great chat with you. I appreciate it. Dude, thank you. Awesome. Thank you. You got it, brother.